a brief introduction. I'm Lavinia Steinfort of the Transnational Institute, and we do these webinars together with Friends of Earth Europe, with Susie. Would you like to?
Hey, I'm Susie, Friends of the Earth Europe, working in the Climate Assistant Energy Program, and specifically on kind of people solutions and looking into the future we are organizing.
Great. And I personally work at TNI, the Transition Institute, on energy democracy topics, also the deprivatization of public services, and how we can have public finance, public investments to fund the democratic solutions we need for transformation. So then I think, let's thank everyone who found the time to attend and was able to attend this webinar that we are co-hosting with Transformative Cities, especially as we're going through very hard and insecure times. Maybe just some words about this, because this health and care crisis is really impacting poor and precarious communities, as well as all the workers who take care of our society and its people the hardest, in particular those, of course, in the global south. And to stop this from happening and overcome the many crises that we face, so the care, the climate, the capitalist crisis, we need to turn against austerity and privatization and practice solidarity. And we believe that we can do this by reclaiming and directly investing into our public services, such as energy, but also by putting social security in place for everyone and getting organized to really drive the democratic alternatives that can transform society. So it's of course now more important than ever to join forces, and that's why we're here today, to learn from energy activists, from the Goiener cooperative. Olatz from the Goiener cooperative will speak, situated in Basque Country and Navarra. But also hopefully Andrij is there or will soon join, from the Progressive Richmond Alliance. And let me see. And we are very honored also to have Andrij from the Solar Town project in Slavutych, if I pronounce it correctly, in Ukraine. And as you are really, and probably also some others in this group, are already building energy democracy on the ground, we are really grateful to hear these strategies, actions, and the results you managed to achieve in order by involving your communities in important ways. So we will first hear from Sol Trumovia in a moment, who is the coordinator of Transformative Cities. Then we will have these brilliant speakers, but also hopefully some time for other people that have lots of knowledge and know how to share about your democratic energy plans and practices. So my last minute, I think it's important to say 2 more sentences about the Energy Democracy Alliance, for those who don't know us yet. We consist of a mailing list with over 370 people, trade unionists, campaigners, and researchers, and people working on the ground to build energy democracy. And if you're not yet part, you can send your email address on the chat so that I can subscribe you, so that you can virtually contribute to this exchange in order to advance kind of public, community-owned energy systems and a just transition. So there's also the website energy-democracy.net. And these webinars, together with Friends of the Earth Europe, are organized occasionally to really delve into specific topics so that we can advance the struggle. So if you have ideas there, you can also share those. And we'll try to have a next topic that meets your interest and the urgencies of our time. So can I give the floor to you?
Yes, sure. Is it working okay, the sound?
Did you know?
Yes.
Yeah.
And is the recording happening, by the way? Oh,
yeah.
Super. Okay, so we'll go ahead.
Well, thanks a lot, Lavinia. And yeah, first of all, to thank also Susie to pull together this webinar. It's very exciting to have this opportunity. I'm very pleased to be here. And I will spend 5 minutes to introduce briefly what the Transformative Cities Initiative is. And of course, there's a lot of information online, so you can really go through the website. What I would like is to briefly introduce why we started to do this initiative, and in a nutshell, what it is, and then where we are at now, because there's a quite exciting moment for the initiative, and I will tell you in a moment. So the Transformative Cities Initiative was initiated by TNI, the Transnational Institute, which I guess you are familiar with it for different reasons. And we have, within the public alternatives team, where I work with Lavinia, a lot of interest to look at policies that are alternatives to privatization. After decades of privatization, we were very interested on alternatives to the policies that were basically privatizing public services, common goods, and ways to access basic rights. And when looking at alternatives, one of the issues we realize is that we know that this dogma of there is no alternative, this dogma that has been repeated since the 80s about privatization, market-driven policies are the by default response to any challenge we face. We knew that is the opposite. And actually, it's not only that it's not true that there are not alternatives. What is true, there are so many alternatives that sometimes it's hard to know where to look at. And for that, we imagine that it's like looking at the sky at night, which is completely full of stars, hundreds of them. And you have the constellation of the social and solidarity economy, the commons, the remunicipalization of public services, you have cooperatives, you have municipalist platforms, you have all these kinds of different initiatives who are challenging and experimenting with new ways of democracy and access to basic rights. And it's a bit hard to know where to look at. So we decided to create a frame that will allow us as a research institute to understand better these practices, but not only researching, which is usually what we do as an institute, but really bringing visibility and giving exposure to these initiatives at the global level. So this explains the two big columns of this initiative, which is a communications column, a research column. And the way to approach this idea of alternatives, we decided to look at basic rights like water, housing, energy, and food, and looking at cities, but cities not so much as a urban space, but as a limited geographic location where struggles are happening. So we're looking at those practices that are happening at the city level, at the municipal level. We wanted to understand better how they were able to create social majorities that were transforming their environment. So very quickly, I will go through the what we decided to organize, which is an award. And this award cycle is very simple, which is an open call for cases. Then these cases are evaluated by international team of evaluators from different disciplines and different regions of the world. And then from this evaluation, with a methodology we have developed, then we have a number of finalists. And those finalists receive support in the form of local journalists who help them to tell the story of their transformative practices. And with that story, we then go public. We pitch those stories wherever we can. And then we organize a public online vote where the local initiatives call the support of their communities, but also get that support from other communities around the world. So once this vote is finished, then we have some winners. So that will be the cycle. And of course, we must say that this award idea is a bit unnatural for an institute like TNI. It goes really out of our comfort zone because we are really used to work, and this is what we believe, on solidarity and cooperation. But we see this award not as a competition, but as an exercise of co-petition, which means that what we aim with this initiative is to increase the collaboration between local initiatives, but we introduce a component of competitivity to increase awareness and attract new audiences. So to wrap up, we are now in the 3rd edition of this award. We are doing this with a number of international partners. I will mention them, which are the Habitat International Coalition, the Global Platform for the Right to the City, the Intercontinental Network of Continental Networks of Initiatives Supporting Social and Solidarity Economy, Friends of the Earth International, and the European Network of Citizens-Led Initiatives, ECOLIS. So at this moment, we are launching the 3rd edition. The open call is open, and you are very welcome to participate, as the friends from Goiener did last year, or from Richmond 2 years ago. And I just finished saying that it's very exciting to have this webinar because we have been really strong at building the communication column of the project, working with journalists, bringing attention to these local initiatives, and the research part is something we really want to develop. So this webinar really is an excellent opportunity to bring these initiatives who did participate in the award and start to create this peer learning exchange process. So thanks a lot, and any questions, please contact me. I will put the contacts in the chat and the link to the website. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Sol, for that. Yeah, and thanks for putting your contact in the chat box. Just for everybody, if you have a question or a comment, currently I muted you all. I actually initiated the call. I have the power to mute yourself. To mute. So if you want to talk later, you have to unmute yourself. And if you have a question in between, please also use the chat box. So did we hear anything about Andres, the speaker, Lavinia? Not yet, right?
Not yet.
No. Okay. So let's start. Let's start with Olatz. You are from the Basque Country, and so you're very welcome to share your story and your experiences. And maybe you can introduce yourself a bit more, then people can put you a bit in place already.
Okay. First of all, thank you very much to TNI and Friends of Earth in Europe for your invitation. And I'm pleased to be here today with all of you. I work like some of the participants in the University of the Basque Country, but I'm a volunteer in the cooperative Goiener, which is the topic I'm going to talk about. So I'm going to help my speech with some visual aid, and let's see if you can see it right now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, there you are. So the topic is the strategies, actions, and results for popular support, the democratic decision-making exercises we are doing, and how we organize our working groups. In the first 2 minutes, I will go through several slides which give a short view of what Goiener is, and then I will stop and will talk about these questions that are interesting for all of us. So, Goiener Taldea is the introduction, then we will talk about popular support, how we reach that, and our democratic decision and the working group model we are using. So, Goiener Taldea is a group of different organizations. First of all, it was created the retailer, which sells 100% renewable energy to members, which are at the same time customers. Then we realized that there were many things to do apart from selling electricity, so we created an association which in Basque is called Elkartea, and meets a group of people that want to volunteer helping on the energy democracy and the new energetic model into distributed and renewable one. And then the third column is the generation one. We already have projects where we can generate electricity from renewable technologies. So as said, the retailer, the electricity selling company or cooperative started in 2012 and started providing electricity to citizens first. Then they came the small and medium businesses, and we are already dealing with municipalities since the first years. So our prototype of customer has been evolving. We are a non-profit cooperative, and we want to increase the demand of this type of energy in the Spanish electricity market. So we have a lot of members, over 11,000 already, and 40,000 contracts, well spread around the Basque Country and Navarra, as you can see on the map. And we have several offices in our region because we want to be the closest we can to the people. We have over 30 people working, paid for working, because we are going to talk afterwards about volunteering. And we are creating local employment, which is one of our objectives as it fosters local economy. So our figures, economical figures, are over there, and you can see we are growing, and it goes very well. And the second part is the generation projects. We wanted to start here at the beginning, but regulation obstacles arrived in Spain. So we had to start with the retailing, and then we started with generation projects. So we have our own generation site in Fagollaga, where we go with our members visiting it. We have cooperated with another renewable cooperative in the northern Basque Country, ENR, and we have lent them some money so that they can build the installations. And we have one part of the shares of Oñatiko Urjaltziak, which belongs to a municipality, and this gives us the opportunity to improve our relations with public partners. Our current window where people can invest right now is related with schools, and we want to involve as well as students, teachers, and parents in this project. So there you can have some figures, and you can see that we are up to 91% of completion of this kind of crowdfunding. So the association is the second organization we work with, and it's organizing and giving structure to everybody that is helping in this project, in the Goiener project. There's paid people, the workers, but there's over 160 people that help like volunteers, like me. So this volunteering people is organized in several groups. Some of them are regional. We meet according to geographical location, but others are functional. So to answer demands on administration, retailing, communication, etc. Especially interesting are the exploring, generation, and social activity ones, where really volunteering people have fresh ideas, and they act as simultaneously working think tanks. So ideas arrive, and we can evolve those ideas. So this is our building with 3 columns and the roof. So how do we work to obtain the popular support? Well, our strategy to communicate is to share our values with the members and customers, to be with them face to face in meetings. We have had like 100 meetings per year during the first years, the 3 or 4 years. We have pedagogical seminars, and we organize in content marketing. We try to explain the people what's going on, what they can do, and all of this by positive messages. So we started trying to answer to people's needs. So they ask us that they want renewable electrical energy, that we want to understand the bills, and to know rights and choices. So these demands are the ones that make us go working. We also have to be humble. And as we started only with 32 members, we have to ask for people for their help. So we need to do this. Is there anyone available who can do this or knows to do this? And then people just answer, yes, I can do it this way. What can this involve? In our country, we have 2 official languages. For example, translating the contents we are developing. We also look for references, both in Europe, in Spain, and we try all the time to cooperate with other cooperatives, even to help to create them. And from the beginning of the generation, our investment profile is seeking participation. That's the way we do it is allowing people to invest from 100 euros, which is quite affordable for almost everyone.
Olatz, just to tell you, you have about maximum 2 minutes left to also keep time for the other speakers.
Okay, thank you. And this is the values we work with, and the relations we have. So how do we decide things? So as a cooperative, we have the General Assembly, and then there's a council that proposes things to the Assembly. But then we have a group which is the motor or the pilotage. This group is the one which decides things or projects to go on or to that require to be developed. In our working groups, you can see there's blue people and red people. So the blue people are the volunteer ones, and the red people are the paid workers, so to say. So you can see that, for instance, in gerencia, in management, all of them are workers. But in pilotage, there are volunteers as well as workers. And in the assembly, most of us, we are volunteers. So the decision-making technology of the methodology is based on consensus. So one group has a proposal, and then this proposal has to be written and sent to pilotage. The pilotage evaluates this proposal and by consensus decides what to do, either to implement the proposal or to revision it or to develop it further. So this is the way how the exploring different groups can work and think about what to do in future, and these proposals have their way to go up to the pilotage, and if pilotage approves them, then they go to the assembly and they have the validation, so to say. So several working groups we have, and that's it. Thank you. I'm a little bit extended.
Thank you very much, Olatz, for your presentation. Also, for everybody, we will share, if that's okay for Olatz, the presentation later. Oh yeah, thanks for stopping the sharing the screen. So are there, before we move on to Andres, who I welcome already, he arrived, are there any, we have still 2 or 3 minutes time for some immediate questions or questions for clarification? Is there anything that you would like to ask? And if you can put that, because I can't see everybody at the same time. I see Andrij, yes. In case you want to speak, please put it in the chat box that you want to speak, because I can't see everybody at the same time. Andrij?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
So my question is pretty much this. Thank you for the wonderful presentation. You know, with cooperatives, it's often that the big companies, they have this scale, and this is a huge advantage. How do you overcome the time when you are going from this small group of people who believe in idea to really in more of a kind of scaled up enterprise who can pay its bills and be profitable? Well, not profitable, at least pay what it has to pay.
Okay.
Olatz, before you answer, I would like to take Sol's question as well, and then you can answer them both together.
Thank you. Yeah, well, one clarification, maybe I didn't hear if the volunteers you mentioned are all members, like official members of the cooperative. And the second, related with what Andrij said, if consensus, as you said, decision-making means there also veto power, or if one person can block, or you have some rules for that. And I guess that also has with the scale issue. And thanks for the presentation, it was great.
Yeah, all the volunteers are members of the association. They don't need to be members of the cooperative, of the retailer. And as far as we work with the consensus, we have the opportunity. We all have the opportunity to veto. So if there's some aspect of a proposal that is considered not good, then this proposal has to be developed further. The veto is only available when you give objective reasons for your veto, and you have to justify why you don't accept the proposal. And this is a good way, because this is a way to improve and to consider all perspectives in a project. Sometimes the group that proposes it has an aim and is focused on a topic, but parallel considerations are not taken. To answer to Andrij, well, we started slowly with own capital, and we didn't have pressure in time, or we didn't have an objective of arriving to this level of economical numbers or quantities. And we have also had help from specialists by means of alliances, and the people is very patient. Our initial members, which are the most loyal ones, have been patient and at the same time exigent. They want quality.
Thanks, Olatz. If you have more questions, please either put them in the chat box and or keep them for later when we have a bit more time at the end. Thanks a lot. So for those who arrived a bit later, I think we are about now 33 people on the online, so that's great. And thanks a lot for the first presentation, Olatz. Also, I welcome again Andrij Soto. You arrived. So please, share your story. You are from the Richmond Progressive Alliance, and we would love to hear your story and your strategies. And you have about, like Olatz as well, 8 to 10 minutes, and then we have some questions to you as well. Welcome.
Sure. Great. Well, thank you for having me, and very exciting being part of this international gathering. Richmond, California is part of the San Francisco Bay Area, but it has been home to the Chevron, or previously Standard Oil California refinery, since 1902. And so the political environment in Richmond is one that I've always described as a corporatocracy, where when the history of the city, especially it grew exponentially during World War II because of the Kaiser's shipyard experience. And that brought people from all around the country. And it became a very working class, industrial, Euro-American type of city. But there was a African-American migration that started. There was a Mexican-American migration that started. And by the 1960s, you know, like so many other places in the United States, the racial conflict really exploded. And that led to a phenomenon here in the United States they call white flight, where white people started moving out of the cities. And so Richmond became a majority African-American city in 1980. This was accompanied with a history of police violence against the community. And then, so this is the environment I grew up in. And, but being politically active, you know, it was very challenging. And I started working more on a statewide scale, really involved with youth violence prevention and gun control related issues. And then on, by the 1990s, Richmond had changed. In 1980 was the first and only time it was African-American majority. But by the year 2000, Richmond had become plurality Latino community. And so the dynamics were changing, and so it was not a comfortable transition from Euro-American domination to African-American, and it was not a smooth transition from African-American to Latino. And so 2002, on Cinco de Mayo, which, while it's an event that occurred in Mexico within the Mexican-American community, the Chicano community, since the 70s, it has been celebrated kind of like our own thing over here in the United States. So it's celebrated much larger in the United States than in Mexico. And so I had been involved for many years in planning events. Fiscal considerations caused the city to cancel the event. People celebrated. The police responded by attacking the community. Myself and my two sons, who were in college at the time, one at UC Berkeley, one at Laney College, we were all beaten and pepper sprayed and attacked by the Richmond police for asking them why they closed down the street. So our path to justice took many different courses. We used the Richmond Police Commission as a venue, filed a federal civil rights lawsuit. You know, we brought political pressure, and ultimately my political analysis was that the only way we're going to change the political and social dynamics in the community is to take control of the political institutions, which was the city council. So in 2003, we got together a number of people who had been involved in our solidarity campaign for justice for us in Cinco de Mayo. And we created this political organization called the Richmond Progressive Alliance with the direct strategy of doing grassroots organizing, door-to-door campaigning to beat the corporatocracy. And this strategy was derived from the fact that in Richmond, where we had the highest Democratic Party registration of any city in the Bay Area at 77%, all the strings were being controlled by Republican corporate interests. And it didn't matter whether the majority of the city was white or the majority of the city was black or emerging Latino plurality. The corporatocracy always knew how to corrupt and buy people off and get their way. And they used the politics of racial division as a way to keep their power. So what we did was we said, we're going to create a multiracial organization that is going to focus on progressive politics and will critically analyze Chevron's role in our community and the impact that that's had. And so the traditional Democrats would always just, whoever got Chevron's money had the biggest, slickest mailers and flooded your mailbox. And we knew that that was not as effective as door-to-door campaigning, the old school way. And so that's what we did. And over a series of elections, not only got people elected, you know, that was the other part of our strategy, was we always ran slates, because it's easy enough to knock off one person, but they can't knock everybody off. So as long as we run slates, somebody's going to get elected. And it took us basically 6 election cycles to get a supermajority on the city council. Now, as that power was growing, we began to articulate our positions and trying to advocate for change in policy in a number of different arenas. Certainly energy production and procurement is one part of that, given the fact that Chevron is the 2nd largest refinery in California, the largest one in Northern California, and therefore the 2nd largest greenhouse gas emitter in the state of California of any stationary source. It also means that the people of Richmond and the surrounding area are the primary victims of the particulate matter pollution that is also a byproduct of the refinery process, not just the greenhouse gases that are destroying the atmosphere. So there's local fallout and global fallout. And so one of the first things we did was, as what is known as community choice aggregation started forming, there was one over that established itself across the bay in Marin County, and Richmond became the first city to join in with them. And what that means is that while the corporate utility, PG&E, Pacific Gas and Electric, still owns the transmission lines, the procurement and distribution is provided by MCE. And so automatically 50% of all people's electricity is renewably sourced. And people have the option to sign up for 100% renewably sourced electricity. People also have the opportunity to opt out altogether if that's what they choose. But this was a critical battle, that it had to apply to everybody automatically and only give people the option to opt out, not opt in. And this is what made it fiscally viable. And so that has now spread from Richmond to many of the surrounding cities as well as the county. And so there is now a vast tract that is covered under Marin Clean Energy. But we are still grappling with the power of Chevron. Chevron never sleeps, they never stop. and they are still involved in our elections. In 2014, they infamously spent $3.5 million in our local city council and mayoral race, and every single one of their candidates lost. And while every election is a complex story, it always boils down, in this case, to the fact that people were put off by the amount of mail they were getting from the Chevron sponsored candidates, literally 4 to 5 pieces of mail per day during the entire election season, per candidate. It also helped that their candidates were terrible. Most of them had baggage that really held them down, or else they were just ignorant and didn't know the issues, and during debates that clearly came out. And the other part of it was that our candidates did do this grassroots campaigning and really helped to turn out the vote and use the brand of Chevron as something not good anymore, and use the brand of the Richmond Progressive Alliance as something good that's challenging Chevron's power. And one of the things that's interesting about the Richmond Progressive Alliance strategy is that local elections are considered nonpartisan. So the parties weigh in, but they're not, Republican council member, Democratic council member, whatever party. They are officially nonpartisan. But the Richmond Progressive Alliance has created, in effect, a party brand in this nonpartisan environment. So either you like the Richmond Progressive Alliance or you don't. And if you don't, what is your party? Your party is Chevron. And so this has really helped to define the elections and the candidates. It's also been the vehicle by which we can collectively use key issues as wedges in elections to separate and divide which candidates are, supporting the progressive positions versus those that are supporting, the corporate positions. And it's not just Chevron. There's a variety of other things, including, land development. We just stopped coal and petcoke terminal, but maybe my 15 minutes are up. So.
Could I ask you to round up that first input and to give the chance to maybe ask 1 or 2 questions from the people who are online?
Sure. Yeah. So I just wanted to say that, this is an all volunteer effort. Nobody is paid staff. All the money goes to keeping our office open, and we use it as a collective meeting space in the community, and different community groups will pay money to use that as a meeting space. And it's a year-round operation. It's not just an electoral operation. It's something that goes on constantly. There's a steering committee that makes the executive decisions. People volunteer for that. So that's the mechanism.
Thank you very much for that inspiring input, Andres. Just to check, you don't have a lot of time to stay online. Is that correct?
No, I'm fine.
You're fine. Okay, you're fine, actually. Okay, great. Then maybe we start with just either questions of clarifications and or other 1 or 2 questions, and then we could come back with more questions or comments later. Anyone who hasn't spoken yet has a question or a comment? And as I said before, I can't see everybody if you raise your hand, so please put it in the chat box if you want to talk. Becca, you go ahead. If you speak already, you are still muted.
Hi,
Yes.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, perfect.
Sorry about that. Yeah, sorry,
No
my
worries.
microphone's not working. Thanks, Andres. This is really interesting to hear about your community organization. I'm interested mostly for my own personal research, but if you could speak for a moment about the role of employment in Chevron within your community and how that impacts your organizing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, Chevron is the largest private sector employer in Richmond. And it is also the largest provider of property taxes that are used by the city of Richmond for its general operations. But only about 5% of the workforce of the refinery operation are Richmond residents. So back when the city was predominantly Euro-American, a lot of local white men were hired by the refinery. But once, you know, the white folks left town, they did not engage in mass hiring of African Americans or Latinos. And so it's still an overwhelmingly Euro-American workforce that does not live in the community. So that does not necessarily win them a lot of friends either, although the people that they do try to corrupt, that is one of the things they do, is dangle job opportunities in front of people.
Thank you. Any other question for the moment? No. Okay. If there is said, if there's something coming up, please write it down. We can come back to that later. Thanks a lot, Andres. And so moving from starting in the Basque, in Spain, in the Basque country, and moving then to the US, now we move to further to the east. Andrij, can I welcome you? You're from the Ukraine, and you will tell us a bit more about your story and the solar town in the town I can't pronounce, but I try, Slavutych.
Yeah.
You probably can do that better than me.
You pronounce it really ideally.
Oh, great. So welcome. Tell us your story.
Thank you really for having me. And, you know, since we have this coronavirus crisis and we don't do handshakes anymore, I will, you know, do the Vulcan salute saying live long and prosper. So yes, I'm from Ukraine, from the Eastern European country, and from the country which is mostly known by Chernobyl, and I represent several institutions. One of them is Green Incubator. We are NGO who was working on, which is really working on promoting energy efficiency and renewable energy. And also we are promoting all kind of, we are very pro-entrepreneurial organization, and we are promoting innovative companies who do all kind of climate-friendly technologies. So we are, like, for the last 2 years, for you to understand the background, we have designed and launched the program where we used EU and EBRD money, about €1 million, to support 27 Ukrainian companies who did like real life innovations that helped to reduce carbon intensity in these or the other areas. These are very different areas, from people who were inventing things to print using the titanium to reduce the waste of titanium in or aeronautic and cosmic areas, to the guys who were making houses out of technical hemp. And by the way, they are now exporting them to California. So hello to California. And
Andrij, just checking. Andrij, just checking. You shared your screen. You are aware of that, yeah?
Yeah. Okay. I know that, I'm sure. So I'm getting ready to find my presentation.
Okay, great.
As any NGO, you know, many people in NGO sector, they are getting tired of you know, making meetings and report. We at some level we decided that we need to go, you know, more to the ground and do things like you do to connect people who do like real life objects. And I noticed very interesting thing that first, in our policies, we always talk about big guys. We always talk about those who are big market players. Like, and I start asking questions like, do you think it's all right just to replace big coal with a big wind or big solar? We don't think we don't have anything against big wind or big solar, but well, there are still questions. We think it must be more distributed. So we decided to work on energy democracy. We didn't know that in 2014 you exist yet. And we started looking for opportunities to promote this energy democracy idea among Ukrainians. And at some moment we had a brief conversation with the mayor of Slavutych, which is the city of nuclear engineers. This is the city that hosts all the nuclear engineers that went from Chernobyl after the fallout. They were removed to a separate city. And we decided to make energy cooperative there, solar, in the city of nuclear engineers. Now let me show you how it looks. Can you see it? So our cooperative is, I hope you could see that, right? So our cooperative is called Solar Town. We are really small producer of renewable electricity, and we are pretty much the first one in Ukraine. And at the same time, we are municipal cooperative, meaning that municipality has a stake in it. And we are coming to this energy democracy from quite a different to European perspective. We are very pro-entrepreneurial, and we are saying not only justice, we are saying we need to reclaim the capitalism, because it's wrong when, when the market system serves only few. And several years ago, I was very interested in the topic of so-called natural monopolies. And I found out that they are not really natural, they are artificially created. And that was one of the, the pushes. I wanted to show the people that they need to build the monopolies out of themselves. Like we are monopolists for ourselves, like one of the previous speakers were doing. So these are our interim results. These are Ukrainian hryvnias. So for you to understand, this is 4 months of fundraising campaign, and we raised 150,000 euros. We have it writes 81 members, new members of cooperative. So the total now we have is it's 97, along with those that were previously. So it's the results of 4 months of our crowdfunding. Here are financials. Unfortunately, we didn't get these financials completely because we have some problems with functioning of state institution called architectural control. So they allowed us to commission a bit of later. That means we'll be having like 10 to 13% of profitability less, but still, well, it will be clearly a successful case. Another thing, you can see that the minimal contribution starts from 550 euros. For us, it's very important, and we say, yes, we are commercial enterprise, for-profit enterprise. Profit thing is very important to us, but at the same time, it's important so that it would be accessible for people who have less money. That's it. We think that energy cooperation is so much about participation, about bringing more people in, and not excluding them, but rather bringing them in. And that's why we are saying that we are making Ukrainians the co-owners of our energy system. Well, why Slavutych? There are several reasons. You could see it's one of the northmost parts of Ukraine. And it's not the most sunny here on the southern part. It's like plus 15% of solar insolation. But what we have seen is a really good community. And you know, in many cases, at least I don't know how in other countries, in Ukraine, in many cases, you're coming to some city and say, or town, you're saying, hey, I want to do projects there. They say, oh yeah, okay, we will help you, but they never help, really. In this case, we have seen a lot of help from the local communities. And well, in the city of nuclear engineers, you can imagine that there are so many brilliant electric engineers that, well, you have a good advantage. I mean, the 25,000 people who in this or that way, and like literally thousands of them have the electric engineering degree of the highest level. That's clearly an advantage. Well, of course, we are always saying we don't like this thing which is called social responsible business. We think as long as a business pays taxes, it is socially responsible, but we are about this model of giving back to community. The community is friendly to us. So like the 5% of our pure annual income, we are giving back to community, to some energy, to some project that the city wants. So we like at the result of the year, we'll be having this 5% of our of the money. We'll give it to the city, to whatever they want. This is our attitude, and we think it's good. It's the right thing to do. What else? These are some visuals when we were just projecting stuff, how it will look. It's very center of the city. The installed capacity is quite small, as you can see. It's just 200 kilowatts peak. But at the same time, it's the first cooperative of that type in Ukraine. And what's more important, it's the first crowdfunding. And again, it's crowdfunding not among oligarchs. It's crowdfunding among very common folks. And for us, it's very very important. Well, for now, where the project now slide is a bit of obsolete. Tomorrow we are submitting the papers for receiving the green tariff. The power plants themselves are there. They're installed. They all are constructed, and we are doing the paperwork now. And well, what we plan then we plan to help Ukrainian communities of all sorts to implement all sorts of energy cooperation projects, because in many cases the local communities, they think that as long as you say I want energy cooperative, it magically happens. As we learn from our experience, it never does. In our experience, that was, as Churchill used to say, sweat, toil, and tears, many of them actually, because, there were some really harsh moments, but we did it. Hope we'll get first profits soon, I think in April. And for us, it's a great inspiration, and at least I know that I spent last year of my life not in vain. That's pretty much it. I'm ready to answer if there are any questions.
Thank you very much, Andrij. Could you stop sharing your screen?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you. Thanks a lot for for that very different input. So very inspiring to hear from the first cooperative or solar cooperative in the Ukraine. So the same, if anybody has a comment, question of clarification or another question, please go ahead or put it in the chat box if you want to speak. So Lucia, you have a question of what type of crowdfunding, I guess, CF campaign did you have?
Well, we did a equity crowdfunding campaign. That means you're giving money, you own the stake. And for us, it is very important, because for us, it's for us, it's very important to show Ukrainians that, and not only to Ukrainians actually, we are now start talking with the governments. When we talk with officials, we say, when somebody says, hey, those big investors in solar and wind, we say, hey guys, wait a second. We represent almost 100 of small investors, and we have the very same rights as the big ones have. So for us, it's a very important, let's say, exercise in showing that the rights of small investors, they do matter not less than the rights of large investors. So it's, yes, it's equity crowdfunding campaign. And to tell you the truth, well, we did it using a WordPress, using a plugin, special plugin for WordPress, and one web designer, and one specialist in SMM and communications. So it's not really rocket science. Of course, you need some marketing team. We had marketing research, but it's all very doable.
So, Andrij, I will just maybe summarize a few of the questions in the chat box, and maybe you can answer them together, not question by question. So there's a question from Olatz when you talked about your 5% incomes that goes to social projects. If you could say a bit more, what kind of projects? Then how do you manage to, I guess, engage the municipality, enroll the municipality? And then there's a question by Luis Celio. Then there's a question by Lucia. Do you have a platform in the Ukraine? If not, which one have you used? So if you could say a bit more about that, to know more about the number of people that you participated as well. And the last one.
Yeah, I can answer that really quickly, all of them.
Yeah, okay, go ahead.
So, the social city projects, we don't know yet because we have established last year and we have commissioned the power plant only at the start of this year. So that means the first profits will be at the start of next year. The city will see this 5%. So we don't know yet. We are very we are new kid on the block, so we don't know. How did we manage to enroll the municipality? Look, in Ukraine we have 5 cities who are near nuclear power plants, full of engineers, and they are very Soviet. Look, in Slavutych, it's very, in many cases, it's very Soviet people. I mean, they are still, nostalgic of Soviet Union, the heyday of nuclear power. And they had so much respect then, and everybody was fond of them. So how did we manage? Before that, we had this project with the city as an NGO, which was called The New Life of Nuclear Cities. And we were telling them, hey guys, you cannot continue as a monoculture city, as a city of nuclear engineer. You need to reinvent yourself. And then suddenly we say, hey, there is one of the ways to reinvent the city is to try you a city of energy engineers, not necessarily nuclear engineers. Just try new things. You can do that. That's how pretty much we did it. Technically, 1 share of our energy cooperative belongs to the municipal enterprise, like municipality owned, which is called Agency of Regional Development. As for the platform in Ukraine, we are pretty much did that through our own website, and we are now building a platform for energy crowdfunding in Ukraine. As for number of people participated, now we have 97 people. 97 people who are the members of the cooperative, and probably a couple of hundreds who were, interested, looking, thinking, and so on. Municipal cooperation. Well, yeah, we approached them because we knew the mayor. We knew that he is the right guy, and there was this, I believe in very. I don't want to sound cynical, but I believe in money on the table. as one of my favorite authors, Nassim Nicholas Taleb, says, skin in the game. So we had very interesting moment when we needed to register the cooperative, and we approached the mayor, and we say, at first he said, we want 50% shares of the co-op. We want to be active there. And we say, okay, that makes things easier for us. And we say, hey, we need to register the cooperative. That would cost like 2,000 of euros. And we see he and his deputy are hesitating. And then we start, going very blunt when we are saying, hey, look, if you don't have this money now, how can we believe you that we can do 150 plus €1,000 project with you, like a larger, if you don't have money to register? I said, I can contribute my own money to that, but if the city does not, well, that's a problem. At this moment, Mayor says very interesting thing. He says, look, if I will bring money from the budget of this municipal enterprise, of the city budget, to this newly created cooperative, my political opponents will have really big grounds for attacking me, saying that the mayor is doing some fishy things, pouring money to who knows where. And then he says a very interesting thing. He says, look, I can participate with my own money. And so we pretty much, 3 of us, co-share these first expenses. And when somebody bets his or her money on the business, that means he or she believes it. And for me, this was this very turning moment when I understood, okay, I'm in the game. So it's both institutional game and very inter-people game, when you know with whom you can work and with whom you can trust.
Thanks a lot, Andrij, again, and also thanks again to Olatz and Andres. So we still have about 15 minutes left in the call. Lavinia, would you like to continue?
Yeah, thanks, Susie, and for these amazing presentations. Very different, but also some similar stories of how to fight big power, corporate power, and how you are involving community people power there to make that happen. Are there any fundamental questions that people in this space have? I have a few, but I also really want to make sure that those who are having plans and similar practices on the ground and want to know more how they can make things happen in their own location, please pick the brains of these people. So I don't really see yet messages on the chat. I'll just keep an eye on that. In the meantime, let me then ask a question. So if it's possible to hear from all of you, maybe to start with you, Olatz, how you have been driving the continuous engagement of people that are already volunteers in your cooperative, but also the wider community, and how you reach out, on the other hand, to those more marginalized, poorer members of society. What can we learn from that elsewhere? Could you say a bit about that, Olatz?
Well, I think the main reason to continue being volunteer is that we really live the project. We believe in that, and we see how it evolves, how it grows, and it makes us very proud about what we started, how we did it, and in fact we are learning all the time about the sector, about new people that is interested in energy, and about new problems that people has with extracting electricity or creating their own renewable projects. So communication between people, teaming, and being proud of what we are doing.
That's great. I see a question by Lucelio. Before we go there, is there any brief answer by Andrij or Andres that you want to give in how to continue involving the wider society and your core group?
Sure, I'll jump in. Like I said, you know, the election cycles here are every 2 years, both for the city councils, the state offices, federal elections, all that sort of thing. We also have primaries like we just went through, which are prior to the general election. Because Richmond Progressive Alliance is a political organization, there are a whole range of issues that are important to members of the organization. Some are environmental, some are related to homelessness, some are related to recreational activities, land development. There's a whole range of issues that people can mobilize around. Chevron and its pollution, the regulation of the refinery is shared by the city of Richmond as a land use permitting organization, agency, but also we have the regional Bay Area Air Quality Management District as a venue for regulation of air quality as well. So there's plenty of venues and opportunities for people to get involved directly with the city council, with city council members, advocating for a whole range of policies. That's why, once again, you know, people utilize the meeting space for organizing around a range of these issues. And that, in effect, then becomes, you know, the constituent base. And you know, we try to hold our electeds accountable. Currently, we have a council member that we elected, you know, with RPA support, but he has now made a number of extremely bad votes, and he is not going to get the organization's endorsement. And we, in fact, are going to run another candidate against him. So, yeah, keeping people engaged, there's multiple fronts, multiple issues that confront our city that provide opportunities for us to engage people. And most recently was a curveball that nobody saw coming, which was the establishment of district elections for city council races as opposed to at-large elections, meaning heretofore people always ran in the entire city for city council. But the threat of a lawsuit under the California Civil Rights Act saying that Latinos were being discriminated against in the election process, that the city moved to district elections. So that was a very intensely publicly involved experience, which the Richmond Progressive Alliance was a key element of that. So yeah, there's many opportunities.
That's great. Maybe Andrij, as there's also an actually interesting question for you about the preparation checklist for considering an energy cooperative project. Did you have anything like that? How you have done that for the Solar Town project? Or could you maybe brainstorm of how would you do that with all the experience you now have?
Yeah, well, if we say there are several basic things. First is legislation. I say that the one who wants to build a viable energy cooperative, he or she or they must have a clear understanding how to register it and which are the legalities of the situation. So first, you need to love your legal counselor. Second person you need to love is tax counselor, because like in US, you can be both for-profit and not-for-profit cooperative. And moreover, if you are not-for-profit cooperative, you still can have profit, but as long as 15% of the electricity you distribute 85, you distribute to your own members, you are still considered non-profitable. So in many, in different countries, there are very different laws. And like I know in Greece, there is a great law on energy cooperatives. And so they are very different. You need to know what form of cooperative you're doing, how you're doing. Then of course, taxes. Then the third person you need to love is financial consultant. You need to, of course, calculate things, but then you need to take your calculations and give it to your financial consultant. Like it's the money you invest in that, they will be like, these are probably the best investment you can have. And of course, the last but probably most prominent, along with the financial consultant, we were just happy, sorry, guy or girl or whatever, whoever that might be. In our case, we had Victor, who, and we still have him, who is like he is the technical heart of all the things. And without this, if you have only activists, you still need to have all these people that can dive into the details, including technical people who can do the whole thing. So I would say this is the checklist. And to do cooperative, well, first you need to have this. Maybe not, you may not have all of those people, but you may have some kind of partnerships with them, and you need to have at least 5 people in the team, at least some core team, because we were, the total of us were mostly, we were working like 3 people, and it was amazingly hard, like really, really hard. And if we, and another important thing, I always saying that we are about reclaiming the capitalism and making it for the small guys. And there was this very interesting moment when we understand that it's not only for us. The story is bigger than money. When some of our suppliers would say to us, hey, we will supply to you like at the cost. We don't earn on this. We just want to help you because the project is interesting. And we said, no, it's not the right approach. You still need to earn some money. You're not earning much on us, but we think you need to have your own profit out of this. So it's also about solidarity. As one more thing, as about the Andres were talking about involving broader community, we are now thinking about, and probably we'll be talking with Olatz about making some kind of further, when we have several cooperatives, we'll be needing this association, because we understand that we need to push for transparency, because in these community things, it is very important to have transparency, because we already have one organization who is they are building a pyramid and they are saying they are cooperative, and this scares me a lot, because I don't want a good model, to be kind of how it's called, to be shown in a bad shape, in a bad light, So we want, like,
it's very interesting.
Later on, we need, to show the standards, like, hey guys, these are the standards of financial reporting for cooperatives. So like for us, it's the paramount things. Sorry for talking that long.
Thank you very much. I'm sure these are so much richer experiences that we only have managed to get a glimpse of the valuable things that all of you are doing. We now have about 4 minutes left. So also I saw, for those who haven't seen it, another answer by Olatz on the chat, and she is referring to rescoop.eu, and Susie is also working with them. So we can definitely get you in touch with them if you want to get in touch with a specific cooperative. And we will share presentations also per email with the list of Olatz and Andrij. And are there maybe, we have like 4 minutes, so we can use them in different ways. On the one hand, if you want to ask for a specific topic for the next webinar, you can put that in the chat, for example, or raise your hand for a moment. You can also share any things that you are planning in your local context. If you are setting up a cooperative that you want to ask for solidarity, for international recognition, we can support you as much as possible. So if there are any particular needs from the people that are now participating, also from the speakers, please tell us, and we can do what we can. So since it is...
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah. Yes, thank you. Hello, David. Hi. You can ask a question.
I'm fine. I would like to comment this. This webinar has been an eye-opener for most of us who are going to energy and who have tried energy. So next time, I think I'll write a concept paper, which I'll send to you, Lavinia.
Please do. Yes.
Yeah, I'll do so.
Great. Yes, please send around whatever you want to share and whatever you want to have feedback on from us or whoever is now on this call.
Yeah.
Great. And it's interesting to hear from... Yes, please.
Give regards to all people who have contributed, although I have come late, but next time I'll keep time. I'm sorry for that. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much, David. Just to share, he participated in the Transformative City Call of last year, and they have been doing in Kitale, Kenya, an amazing waste fertilizer project. So do check it out on Transformative Cities if you want to know more about their amazing work. We have 1 more minute. Is there any other input, things you want to share that we all should know about before we end this webinar?
I like to say something. I just wanted to announce that we, as Friends of the Earth Europe, are just about to start an online course, especially, exactly for the people who are wanting to set up a community energy project like an energy cooperative or similar, or already in the process, and specifically share and have that course for over a short period or a few months, and to share kind of skills, to share experiences, and to kind of discuss specific challenges, how to overcome some of the main barriers that probably many of you face. So we are kind of closing already the call. Many people applied already, but if you're interested to join, or you know this person actually should really join, then just send me a message and I will forward that, and we can hopefully still include you.
That's great. Maybe then I know this is an important message from Seoul. It's now the moment to apply for the 3rd edition of Transformative Cities. So if you have transformative practices that we have heard about today, but that can look very different in your place to share, you should definitely apply. And there's also some support if you need that to write the application. So I think it's 1:05. If you have anything else you want us to address in the next call, in the next webinar, write to Susie or me, and then we would definitely want to give our gratitude and solidarity to all the speakers, especially Andres, Olatz, and Andrij. You have been brilliant. There's so much more to learn from you, and we'll definitely continue exploring how we can best really peer learn from each other. So yes, keep in touch. And thank you. Also, everybody who participated, and take care in these very difficult care crisis times.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Stay safe.
Thanks a lot, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for facilitating, Lavinia and Susie. It's great.
Thanks a lot, everybody.
Thank you.
And talk to you
Thank you.
soon. And stay healthy and take care of each other.
You too.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
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 Bye bye.